Hello dear students. So welcome to Samartha Medical and IIT Academy. Today we are going to discuss regarding the first lesson in first PUC zoology. That is, the more weightage from the first PUC zoology is for human physiology, and you know that one in this unit the total 7 chapters are there. So let us complete this human physiology first, then we can go for the other chapters in the first PUC. So here the very first chapter is human physiology, digestion and absorption, and you are already aware of this topic. So very important topics are the concept for the NEET exam we are going to discuss here. See, you know that one, every organism requires an source for the energy, and that energy comes from the nutrients which are present in the food, which will be obtained from the plants or the animals. So directly or indirectly, all animals are dependent on the plants only for the food source, or the food as the source of the energy. So as every organism requires the energy that is in the form of food, so what are the major components of the food then? The major components of food includes, that is, carbohydrate, and then proteins and fats. So these are the major components of the food. Along with these carbohydrate, protein and then the fat, and there is also presence of vitamins and minerals, but in the less quantity or very negligible quantity. Along with that, last but not least, water is also an component of the food only. And what are the functions of these components of the food? The first, the carbohydrate, protein and fats. So these are bio-macromolecules. Say for example, so in these components, what are the bio-macromolecules are present? Say for example, molecules such as, what are those? Lipids, even though they are not the bio-macromolecules, but so during the analysis of biomolecules, these lipids comes under the macromolecules part only. So lipids, then nucleic acids, and then proteins. So as they come under the macromolecules, so these components which are present in the food cannot be utilized by our body in their original form. Means they must be broken down into simple absorbable form only. Then only our body absorbs these nutrients in order to utilize it for generating the energy. So these bio-macromolecules, they act as source of energy. Means they provide energy and helps in growth in body. That is growth of the tissues that directly impact the growth of the body as well. Then what about the water? This water acts as nothing but the medium. It acts as a medium for metabolic activities. It acts as a medium for the all type of metabolic activities which takes place in our body. And it also protects body from dehydration, or prevents dehydration of the body. So in that way it gives protection to the various cells or the tissues which are present in our body. So these are the functions of various components of the food. In that, remember, the major component of the food are carbohydrate, protein, and as well as the fats. So as we got to know, these components of the food cannot be utilized in their original form by our body. So they must be broken down into simple absorbable form, and that process of conversion of complex food into simple absorbable form. This is only called as digestion. So the process of conversion of complex food into simple absorbable form, that is only called as, so this process is only called as digestion. It is only called as digestion. So here conversion of complex food into the simple absorbable form, it occurs by various methods. So here this conversion is by the mechanical process, either by mechanical process, and along with that one enzymatic process. So here the conversion of complex food into the simple absorbable form, which takes place by mechanical method or the mechanical process, as well as the enzymatic process by involving various digestive enzymes. So this enzymatic process or the method is also called as the biochemical method of digestion, the biochemical process of digestion. Both process that are meant for conversion of complex food into simple absorbable form only. So this is what regarding the basic introduction regarding the digestion, and so why the digestion process is required in order to convert the complex food into the simple absorbable form. So let us see what the human digestive system includes, and in detailed discussion regarding the digestive system of the human beings. So what are the modes of nutrition that can be observed in the organisms? See, basically there are two modes of nutrition, are whether the food is being prepared in their body itself or not. So based on that, organisms are of two types, that is autotrophic and then the heterotrophic. In autotrophic organisms, what happens? The food is synthesized in their body itself. So they are called as autotrophic organisms. And these autotrophic organisms are of two types, that is the chemoautotrophic and then the photoautotrophic. And as you already know that one, photoautotrophic carry out the photosynthesis in the presence of the sunlight and by utilizing the raw materials such as the water as well as the carbon dioxide and the minerals, they are able to synthesize starch. And chemoautotrophic organisms will synthesize their food by using the chemicals present in the surrounding environment. So they are called as chemoautotrophic. Means they will derive their energy or the food energy by utilizing the chemicals as a source of food. So they are called as chemoautotrophic. Similarly, when opposed to the autotrophic, heterotrophic organisms, they cannot synthesize their own food and they depend on other organisms or the plants as a source of food. Such organisms are said to be heterotrophic in nature, and these heterotrophs may be, or this heterotrophic nutrition may be of three types. What is that? The heterotrophic nutrition may be holozoic. There are three modes of heterotrophic nutrition are there. Nothing but holozoic nutrition, and then saprophytic, that nutrition mode may be saprophytic or parasitic. In holozoic mode of nutrition, what happens here? The food is ingested in solid or liquid state. Solid or the liquid state. So here what happens? The food is ingested in solid or the liquid state. And then such food is subjected for the enzymatic digestion. Then after the digestion, the nutrients which are present in the digested food will be absorbed and assimilated into various parts of the body. Such a nutrition is called as holozoic mode of heterotrophic nutrition. Then saprophytic nutrition means here what happens? The organism feeds on the decaying organic matter of plants or the animals. So example for the saprophytes here nothing but decomposers. Example, decomposers. So they feed on the decaying organic matter of plant or animals and utilize them as a food source. Next, parasitic organisms. They depend on other organisms. Either they live in or on the surface of the body and obtain the nutrition from the host organism. So such type of nutrition is said to be parasitic. Okay. So these are the different type of nutrition or the mode of nutrition can be observed in organisms with respect to the energy source or with respect to the nutrition to that organism to derive energy for carrying out various vital activities of the life. So they depend on the various sources in order to obtain that food energy. So next, what the digestive system of, let's come back to the human beings or the human digestive system. Let's discuss regarding the human digestive system. So as a part of the human physiology, directly let's discuss regarding human digestive system. And the human digestive system mainly includes, what it includes? The human digestive system includes two parts mainly. What is that one means? The first one is alimentary canal and associated digestive glands. Alimentary canal is the main part of the digestive system. Then along with that one, associated digestive glands. So these are the parts of digestive system in human beings. These are the parts of digestive system. Then here, see, look at the diagram which is representing the human digestive system. So you can find this diagram in the NCERT book as well. Okay, so that is representing human digestive system starting from the mouth, that is the anterior most opening of the alimentary canal, and ends with the posterior most opening outside to the body, that is called as anus. So let's discuss regarding alimentary canal first. This alimentary canal, so what is the size of this alimentary canal? So alimentary canal, it opens or it starts with mouth, and this mouth is an anterior most opening. And same alimentary canal ends with anus, and this anus is posterior opening, or the posterior most opening. What is the size of alimentary canal? This alimentary canal is of 8 to 10 meters. 8 to 10 meters in length. So that is what the length of the alimentary canal, that is 8 to 10 meters. So in that 8 to 10 meters of length, so various parts are present starting from the mouth to the last one called as anus. Between the various parts are present, let's discuss about one by one. So that is what the diagram representing the human digestive system. Let's begin the discussion of each and every part starting with the alimentary canal. Before that, if you want, you can make a note of these points now. So, the first is discussion regarding the alimentary canal. You know that this alimentary canal is derived from which germinal layers? Alimentary canal is derived from, this one is derived from the germinal layers such as mesoderm and endoderm, the most important one for the NEET examination. So what is the origin of alimentary canal means? Alimentary canal is derived from the mesoderm and then endoderm. And its size is 8 to 10 meters length. And so in alimentary canal, what happens here? The mouth opens into a cavity. That cavity is called as oral cavity. Oral cavity. This oral cavity further divides into so oral cavity which divides into two parts. What are those? Nothing but here vestibule and then the buccal cavity. So what happens? What do you mean by vestibule means? This vestibule includes space between, it is nothing but the space between lips, space between the lips, next lips and gums and cheeks. So space between lips, gums and then the cheeks, that only represented as vestibule. Then the oral cavity which contains teeth and as well as the muscular tongue, that comes under the buccal cavity. So the oral cavity is divided into vestibule and buccal cavity, and vestibule is representing the space between lips, gums and cheeks, and the buccal cavity contains the teeth with the muscular tongue in order to help in the mastication of the food and as well as tasting the food. So this is regarding the oral cavity. So now the next one is, see how the lips are attached to the gum. What about the lower lip and then the upper lip? So that there is an mucous membrane which attaches the upper lip to the gum. Such an membrane is called as superior labial frenulum, which is called as superior labial frenulum. So what do you mean by superior labial frenulum? Means mucous membrane which attaches the middle of upper lip to the gum is called as superior labial frenulum. Similarly to the, what about the lower lip? Similarly, the mucous membrane which attaches the middle of lower lip to the gum, middle of lower lip to the gum is called as, that is called as, which is called as inferior labial frenulum, which is called as inferior labial frenulum. So this information will not be present in the NCERT. So remember, so whenever the question is asked in the NEET examination regarding superior labial frenulum and then the inferior labial frenulum, it belongs to the mucous membrane which attaches lips to the gum. That is, superior labial frenulum attaches upper lip to the gum, inferior labial frenulum attaches lower lip to the gum. Is it clear, guys? Make a note of these points now. See, so in the buccal cavity or the oral cavity, so there are two roofs are present, that is the upper roof and then the lower roof. So roof of buccal cavity is called as palate, and each palate, that is upper one and then the lower one, it contains two parts, that is a hard palate and then the soft palate. What is the meaning of palate? Roof of buccal cavity is called as palate, and it has two divisions or parts in it, that is hard and then the soft part of the palate. So this is what the diagram representing the palate. So here the upper part is called as a hard palate and then the lower one is called as the soft palate. So in the hard palate you can see in the ventral part of that hard palate there is a presence of transverse ridges. These ridges are called as palatine rugae. They are called as palatine rugae. So what do you mean by palatine rugae? Hard ridges or the transverse ridges which are present at the hard palate, they are called as the palatine rugae. These palatine rugae will be present in more number in carnivores, and the presence of these palatine rugae or the transverse ridges that gives more grip to the mastication process or the chewing process. That is what the function of palatine rugae. And then one pair of ducts present at the anterior part of the same hard palate, and those ducts are called as nasopalatine ducts. Why? Because they connect the palatine part of the oral cavity or the buccal cavity with nasal passage. So these one pair of nasopalatine ducts, they connect the buccal cavity with the nasal passage. And where do you find the presence of this nasopalatine ducts? Means those are present at the anterior part of the hard palate only. At the hard palate only, at the anterior part, there is a presence of one pair of ducts. They are called as nasopalatine ducts. See, so here is the another diagram which shows the nasopalatine duct. Can you see here the presence of nasopalatine duct? That is the circled part is present there, right? That is called as nasopalatine ducts. They connect oral cavity or that buccal cavity with the nasal passage. Then the free end of soft palate. So at the downwards or the down part of the diagram is the soft palate. So free end of that soft palate ends in a conical shaped structure. What that conical shaped structure is called as means structure that is called as uvula, which is called as uvula. So conical shaped structure or the flap like structure which is called as uvula. So uvula along with the soft palate, okay, they closes the nostrils while swallowing the food. Means both move during swallowing of food, and they closes nostrils. So the nostrils get closed during the swallowing of food because of the movement of this uvula and then the soft palate. So this is regarding the buccal cavity or the oral cavity which contains a vestibule and then the buccal cavity, right? So very important things to be remembered for the NEET examination is what do you mean by palatine rugae, where they are present. Then what do you mean by palate? Then what are nasopalatine ducts? What is their function? Means which structures they connect. And what is the function of uvula? So uvula is nothing but a conical flap-like structure present at the free end of the soft palate, right? So along with that uvula, the soft palate closes the nostrils during the swallowing of food. Is it clear, guys? So this is what the diagram representing the palate, hard and soft palate, and uvula. Make note of these points now. So next discussion is regarding the another aspect which are present in the oral cavity, that is the teeth. See, what are the nature of human teeth? And so in most of mammals, including human beings. So here including humans. In most of mammals, including humans, teeth appears in two sets. Teeth appears in two sets. So based on this, what are the nature of human teeth means? So nature of human teeth are as follows. The one is the human teeth are diphyodont and they show thecodont type of dentition, and so human teeth are heterodont in nature. So what is the meaning of diphyodont, thecodont, and then the heterodont? So as we said earlier here, in most of the mammals, including the humans, teeth appear in two sets. That is called as diphyodont. So what do you mean by diphyodont here? The teeth appear in two sets. What are those two sets? That is milk teeth. They are also called as deciduous teeth, means teeth which are subjected to fall after the childhood, and later they get replaced with permanent set or adult teeth. So milk teeth which get replaced with the permanent set or the adult teeth in adulthood. So only as the teeth appear in two different sets, milk teeth or deciduous teeth first, which get replaced with the permanent set of teeth or the adult teeth next. So that type of nature of the teeth is called as diphyodont dentation. Next, thecodont. What do you mean by thecodont here? The each tooth in human beings is embedded in, where it is present and how it is present means it is embedded in sockets of jawbone. Such an arrangement is called as, or such an attachment of a tooth into the jawbone is called as thecodont dentation. Then it is called as thecodont dentation. Then heterodont dentation. What do you mean by heterodont dentation? So before that, look at the diagram present there. It shows the sockets which are present in the jawbone and the teeth which are embedded in that sockets, and that is called as thecodont dentation. And if you look at these teeth, how many different type of teeth are present in human beings? So human teeth are of four different types. Human teeth are of how many types? Four different types. As they belong to the four different types, so only they are called as heterodont. So what are those four different types? that is incisor, canine, incisors, canines, next premolars, and lastly molars. So these are the 4 different type of teeth which are present in the human beings. So 4 different types are there. Then what is the number of teeth in children, that is the childhood, and then adolescence, and as well as the adults. So next, the number of teeth in the child is 20. Next, the number of teeth in adolescents, teeth present in the adolescent means it is 28. Then in case of adult human beings, in adults the number is 32. So whether the number is 20 or 28 or the 32, but how many different of teeth will be present means there are 4 different type of teeth are present. So arrangement of these 4 different type of teeth in half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw, that pattern of arrangement is only called as dental formula. Okay, so let's see what is the dental formula of child, adolescent, and then the adult now. So what do you mean by dental formula means is the pattern of arrangement of teeth in half of the upper jaw and then the half of the lower jaw, and is represented as, and this dental formula is represented as I, C, PM and M by I, C, PM and M. So what here this I, C, PM and M refers to? That is in half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw. The order of arrangement of teeth are incisors, canines, premolars and molars, from anterior part to the posterior one. So as we are considering only half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw, so what is the dental formula in child, adolescent and adults? Let's see that now. So dental formula for child is it is the 2102 by 2102. So what is the order of arrangement of teeth? I, C, PM and M. That is incisors, then canines, premolars and molars. So which teeth are absent in the child means the premolars are absent here, as you have considered only half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw. So okay, so in upper jaw how many teeth are present? There are 5. In lower jaw how many teeth are present? Here also 5. As you have considered only half of the upper jaw, half of the lower jaw, if you multiply both with 2, then you will get complete number of teeth, that is in complete upper jaw 10, complete lower jaw 10. So that is nothing but the 20. So don't apply the complete maths here. So here upper jaw 10 teeth are there, lower jaw 10 teeth are there, total number of teeth is 20. That is what we got in the previous discussion, right? Number of teeth in children is 20. And what is the dental formula means? 2102, that is by 2102. Which teeth are absent in child means that is premolars are absent. Similarly, the dental formula for adolescents is, that is 2122 by 2122. So what it indicates here? In adolescents, incisors are 2 in number, then canines are 1 in number, premolars and molars are 2 in number, in half of the upper jaw and half of the lower jaw. So in half of the upper jaw how many teeth are there? 7. And then in half of the lower jaw 7. If you multiply it with 2 to get the number of total number of teeth in the complete upper jaw and complete lower jaw, then it will be 14 in upper jaw, 14 in lower jaw. So the total number of teeth in adolescence is 28. Similarly, dental formula for the adults is, then dental formula for the adults is, the dental formula for the adults is 2123 by 2123. So here 2123 incisors, canine, premolar and molar. In upper jaw, incisors, canine, premolars and molars in half of the lower jaw. So their number is, for example, 2123 means, so here how many are there? So 2 plus 1 3, then 5 8. So 8 in half of the upper jaw, 8 in half of the lower jaw. If you multiply it with 2, then you will get the complete number of teeth in, total number of teeth in upper jaw, total number of teeth in lower jaw, that is 16 and 16. So total number of teeth present in the adult is 32. So this is how the dental formula can be written for the child, adolescent and then the adult. And these are the most happening type of question, and based on this the various type of numerical questions can be asked in the NEET examination. Is it clear, guys? So make a note of this dental formula. In next class we are going to discuss regarding numerical problems based on the dental formula, denoting how many are diphyodont and how many are the monophyont teeth. Thank you.